Hello and welcome to China Biz. Now, the most anticipated IPO for years goes live in the US later today when Facebook is expected to raise as much as $15 billion. When the company announced its intention to go public earlier this year, it specifically referenced China in its filing and said it aims to connect all of the more than 2 billion global internet users. But just how realistic is it for Facebook to enter one of the most restricted internet markets in the world? What form would a Facebook venture take in China, and what would the company find when it gets there? Earlier I spoke to Chinese media expert Jeremy Goldkorn and asked him to gaze into his crystal ball. Jeremy, first of all, given Facebook's stated intentions to come to China, how long do you think it might be before we see some sort of attempt to enter the country?
Well, I think that they will not be able to enter as Facebook. I just don't think that's possible at this time. They already have the reputation of being a hostile foreign force. They are intimately connected with the 2009 Iranian anti-government demonstrations and with the events of the Arab Spring. And I don't believe the government will allow an uncensored Facebook. And doing a censored Facebook here, a separate Facebook for China, will not only be a public relations nightmare for them in the United States, it'll also end up with having a service that's not particularly compelling, because if it's not connected to the global Facebook properly, why would you bother when there's so many Chinese social networks?
Would you see it more as talking about a joint venture, or they would actually buy an existing entity?
Well, one of the two. You know, they bought Instagram, the photo sharing application, for, what was it, $1 billion. Now, the market cap of Renren, which used to call itself the Facebook of China, is just over $2 billion. So for double what they paid for Instagram, they could buy, in theory, one of China's largest social networks. The only option then, if Facebook was to bring Facebook, the product, to China, would be to open a local Facebook and run it separately from the global Facebook. MySpace tried this and failed miserably.
How much do you think they've learned from what happened to Google a few years ago?
Not one foreign internet company has a dominant market position in any space on the internet, not a single one. So it's not only Google one can look to in terms of foreign failures on the Chinese internet. You know, it's Skype, it's eBay, it's Amazon, it's Groupon. It's littered with failures.
Now, if we turn and look at the current media landscape here in China, with Sina Weibo getting some new user contracts requiring users to use their real names on registration to try and stop the spread of rumors. Do you think the media landscape in China is getting more strict, or is this just the normal ebb and flow of restrictions and then loosening that we see in China?
I think there is certainly an ebb and flow of media controls in China. It's always worked like that. There'll be a period of tightening followed by a period of loosening until things happen that provoke another tightening. We have seen, I think, a fairly sustained tightening since 2008, but part of the reason for that is that the internet has become an incredibly vibrant and dynamic place of public conversation in China. And Weibo is certainly the best example of huge numbers of voices that are highly critical of the government are getting the chance to air their views in a way that just wasn't possible in China even a few years ago.
Now, a few weeks ago, the microblogging sites had their comments functions disabled for a few days.
Yeah.
That didn't seem to have a huge effect because people were simply just forwarding the messages and replying to that. Do you think we could see stricter measures, such as a temporary shutdown here?
I would never rule out such extreme measures in China. You know, if the government felt that activity on Weibo or another website was threatening enough, they wouldn't hesitate to shut it down. But I don't think anybody in the government wants that. You know, that would be a failure.
Is Weibo still seen by government people as something that they can use to try and get their point across?
I think it is, yeah. I mean, I think that's something one sometimes forgets in the argument about censorship, that the Chinese government is quite adept at using media, old and new, to get across its message. And they've certainly put a lot of effort into dominating the conversation in Weibo and elsewhere.
Do you think they've seen much success in to that degree?
Sometimes they have. I mean, I think the government point of view on the current standoff with the Philippines is something that is accepted by the majority of people that I've encountered online and read their tweets and stuff. So it does sometimes work very, very efficiently.
With Sina struggling to monetize Weibo as one example, Should Facebook, if it ever does come to China, think twice from a financial perspective?
Yes. The Chinese internet market is a bloody, ruthless battleground. The competition is extremely tough. You know, Chinese internet companies are hungry and ruthless. It's difficult to make money. Advertising is a very difficult sell in China, in any medium, and particularly on the internet. So it's not like it's only government regulations that would make China a difficult place for Facebook to operate. It may also be very expensive and not very profitable.
That's all for today's China Biz. I'm Mark Dreyer. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.